Clinton Miner here from Sawtooth Bushcraft. I just want to share a little bit of a skill that I have been able to learn. It comes in the form of coming up with something to use for cordage, for tying things up, for binding, for even lashing. And just looking here along the roadside at one of the resources that I find to be one of the best. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at these things here. Right here, and this is the identifier that we're looking for. These pods right here are the pods from a milkweed plant, and what we have growing all over right in this area are last year's milkweed plants. I typically will try and get them a little earlier than now. We're in the late part of February. They're still good. You got to deal with a little bit of the mold that has grown on them as far as just discoloration, but we'll go ahead and harvest some of these, and then I'll go through the process to show you how those are processed to allow us to make some excellent cordage. Clinton Miner here again with you from Sawtooth Bushcraft. It's been a while since we've had a video, certainly a while since we've been here at the tailgate, so welcome back to the tailgate. We are working today with the milkweed that we harvested almost 2 months ago. It's simply been in the back of my pickup and waiting for a day where we could get down and do the things that we need to do with it. I've got quite a bit here. I'm only going to process a little bit of it so you can see the process, but right here I've got enough to make quite a lot of cordage. Again, as I said when I was gathering it, it is one of my favorite natural materials for making cordage. Got my mora here. We'll go ahead and pull that out. What I typically do to make this easier to work with, this is already starting to come off pretty well, but we're going to have to pull off this outer surface, and that's the material we use. And to do that, we got a couple of steps in the process. I find that instead of using the whole stem and trying to work around that whole stem, that if I split that up into some sections, it becomes much easier to work with, especially when you're working around the little what they would be on a piece of wood would be knots. The best way to do this would be to soak it a little bit in some water, get it wet, but this has gone far enough that I think we're going to be able to pull it off without. The part that we're looking for is this outer, what on a tree again, what on a wood would be a bark. And what we're going to try and do is get that off from there. Comes off fairly easily. It's like I say, it's been in the back of my truck. It's been rained on a couple of times. Actually, that's one of the better times to harvest it, is right after a rain, because it comes off so easily. Now, you see what's happened? I've lost a little bit of the corner here, and every little bit of this is worth harvesting. So I'm going to go ahead and restart that. All right, so there we go. We've got most of it. Got some noisy neighbors here. We've got some geese that must be trying to fall in love over on the river. It's an absolutely gorgeous day. Enjoying the sunshine, enjoying being out for a minute during this quarantine time, but just very thankful that all are well so far in our family, and hope that you guys are doing well. All right, so I'm pulling this away now. You see that it's simply coming away from the main part of the stem, and it is hanging up here and there, so I'm going back and just making sure I get as much of the fiber as I can. And we'll go ahead and soak some of this as well, so you can see kind of the difference. But that pretty much strips that clean. You can see there's a few fibers, and you can see why these fibers are so valuable. They're just good, long, tough fibers. Got a little branch here. We'll pull a little of the fiber off from it. Now, as I get this here, you can see that looks just like bark. Looks like something that's not too usable, and it really isn't. There's a lot of there's a kind of an exterior skin to this bark, and what I found is if you just kind of work this a little bit, you'll see that that skin kind of falls away. Just working it back and forth in my fingers. And there's a kind of just a thin, papery, onion skinny kind of material that's in that. And so here we see. You see the fibers there, almost silky looking. When I work with them, they remind me a lot of linen, of flax fibers. And what we will do is, here in just a minute, I'll move the camera and we'll get a little closer, and I will show you kind of what I do with those fibers. But you see that off from just half of one of those stalks, I've gotten that much material, maybe a 1/16 of an inch piece of material that I can use to make some natural cordage. Anything really from thread up to ultimately I could make some very, very powerful and strong rope out of this. So I'm going to go ahead and reposition the camera, and we will go ahead and talk a little bit about how this works. So here we have it. You can see the fibers a little better as I pull those apart. Get rid of that. You can see as I work that, there's this section here, and you can see this big gray stuff. That's the skin I was talking about. As I work that, you can see that those fibers actually become quite soft and almost silky. We go ahead and do that with this, and we end up with a product, a material that creates a very, very useful cordage that can be reverse twisted into initially some string. Ultimately, we could twist multiple strands from these various stalks that I've got here till we, in the end, have the equivalent of rope. So what I'm going to do is we're going to do a little reverse twist. So I'm simply twisting it until it creates an eye, creates a loop on itself. And then what I will do is twist away from myself and then lay over the top toward myself. And again, I'll twist away from myself. You'll see as I'm doing this, more of that extra skin is falling away. So here we go. We'll twist away from myself, pull toward. So I'm twisting the outside of these two strands away from myself. You can see I'm just twisting, and you can do this on your leg. You can roll it on your leg. I'll show that in another video. And then I pull it over itself, and I'll just keep doing that. As I do it, I'm kind of processing the material, getting rid of the excess. Just twist away from myself. Process here a little bit. Twist away from myself, pull over. Twist away from myself and pull over. Process here a little bit and twist away from myself and pull over. Twist away from myself and pull over. And we just keep working that process. Now you'll see that I didn't take the time to lay this out. I quite often, typically what I will do is I'll process a lot of this material before I start and work through it. You can process all of it. If you do it when it's wet, it's a little easier to pull off from the branch or off from the stalk. But as we do that, you see that I'm just, this gray-black material is simply that outside skin. The reason it's gray and black like that is it's got a little bit of fungus of some kind, or some mold growing on it, but it just goes away fairly easily. You see it comes off in large chunks and in kind of powdery form. So we twist away, pull over, 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 twist away, pull over. You saw that it got a little bit narrow on this top side here that I've got out. Some of it tore away. I'm not sure what happened. I've gone ahead and gone forward with that because the other side does seem to be a little bit heavier, so I'm really getting a pretty consistent size as far as my cord here. And we're coming back into now where it's the full width, and so there may be a little bit of a weak spot at that point, but I think we're in pretty good shape. Twist away, pull over. This thread that I'm making, or this string that I'm making, you will see is not real large, like a nice twine. I can tell you that it is extremely strong. My guess is that that's at least 60-pound test, if not 100-pound test. In other words, I could lift a bucket with that weighed 60 to 100 pounds. Keep working with this. You can see that from that one stalk, though, I've got, at that size, I'll get about a foot, maybe a little more. You'll also notice that I twisted not in the middle. I didn't start in the middle. I chose to start a little bit to one side, and that way you can see here that this is pretty thin. It was up toward the top. I'll go ahead and take and splice another chunk in. I'll take some more off from one of these strands, and that will make it so that we can splice in and make this string as long as we want. There's no limit on how long it'll be. So we just keep working forward on this. Down here on the river, got people coming in that are looking to go fishing during this COVID-19 quarantine. One of the areas that you can still get away and be okay. So we will go ahead and just keep processing this, and twist away, pull over, twist away, pull over, twist away, pull over. How you doing? There I've got a good 6 inches of first-class cordage that I can use to build a shelter, tie together a pack frame, do all types of things. Make for some great cordage. All right, so I stripped a little bit more off from one of the smaller branches. I folded it over on itself so that I've got a substantial amount of the fiber. Same situation, we've got all of that skin, and you can see some of that skin right there, and you can see it comes off in large flakes. What you want is just to leave behind that fiber. So I've gone ahead and doubled it over on itself, so I've got a fairly large chunk of it. And what I'll do now is, since this is starting to get, this side right here is starting to get a little thin, I'll just lay this in here, and we'll start twisting it in as though it was the original piece. and try and keep them separate. And we may have to do that on the other side as well. We may have to splice in some because it looks like I'm hitting a kind of a thin spot, but just keep roll. See, I kind of twist like that. It's to kind of break up those fibers and get them softened. Twist away, pull across. Twist away and pull across. And you can see, because of how easy it was to splice that in, now you can hardly tell where my new material and my old material are. You can see that it really is a fairly simple process to splice some in, and quite honestly, you can make this piece of twine that I'm making as long as you want, simply by adding more and more of the material as you get to that point. Twisting away and pulling across. Twist away and pull across, and you can see a little bit of evidence of a splice, mostly just because I've got it a little larger than it was. Just keep working. Work the material a little bit so it's softer. Twist away and pull across. Twist away, pull across. There we go. Now, that's enough to show you. That is very strong. I am certain that I could fill a 5-gallon bucket full of water, lift that without any problem. I believe I could probably lift 2 with that. And with that, I have some very, very strong string. I could simply use less on each side. Instead of having this much, I could split this in half and have a smaller thread that could easily be used to hold up a tent, to tie logs together to create a natural shelter. Certainly could be used for fishing line on a much smaller basis. The other thing that I'll show here, and that's just to kind of show what I mean by this could be turned into rope, is once I got a chunk of this processed, let's say 20 feet long, 25, let's say 30 feet long, and I need a piece of 10-foot rope. What I can do then is simply go back. Once I've got that long of a piece, I can start right in the middle, and I'm going to just do that with this. This is something we can use. I take that and I do the same process. I twist it until it rolls on itself. Because of the twist, I have to twist now to myself and then roll over. Twist to myself and roll over. Twist to myself. I have to do it that way because I'm going the reverse of what I was doing before. Twist to myself. Let's see. Twist to myself and roll over. 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 And now you see that I've got a piece of the beginnings of a small rope that is extremely strong. I think stronger than, say, hemp. I don't know about hemp, but certainly jute. A softer material, much easier on your hands. You lose, as you're doing that second twist, you lose more than half of the length. You see that you end up with about a third of what you had. So if you had a 30-foot strand of that, there you go, you can compare. A 30-foot strand of this is my original twist, and I twist it back on itself, I would end up with about a 10-foot strand of rope. So fairly easily, fairly quickly, much quicker than I've done it if I processed it a little differently. I could end up with a 10-foot strand of, oh, that's got to be 200-pound test at least. So an excellent process to create some natural cordage, something that not only is in an emergency situation, but creates some beautiful, beautiful cordage that can be used for all kinds of purposes, including decorative purposes. It's very, very, very rewarding to see that you can do that and not have to run to the store if you need something. So this is Clinton Miner from Sawtooth Bushcraft. Really appreciate your time, really appreciate your viewing the videos. If you like these videos, hit that thumbs up. If you like them enough, go ahead and subscribe, and if you can, share them with your friends. Like, subscribe, and share. Those are the bywords for a guy like me that's trying to build this YouTube channel. And we will be looking at some other ways to process this material. I've got quite a bit of it that I want to process and make into some cordage. We'll also be looking at other materials that can be used for similar purposes. But until then, remember that if you're prepared, and knowledge is the best preparation. If you know things, you don't have to have things. So if you're prepared, you're never really lost. Thank you.